Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here. All right, today we're answering questions, and today's question is, are bats free at the major league level? So I'm going to explain to you exactly how bats work. We're going to talk about the major leagues, but there's a couple of different things when it comes to being in the major leagues. There's being in big league spring training. Then there's actually being part of the team in the regular season. So we're going to break those two down. And let's hit on the minor leagues too, just so you can get an idea of how it works as you transition up. A couple of things before we start. First, depends a little bit on the organization you're with. Okay, keep that in mind. I'll explain that as we go. Second thing is, this is back when I played. It's been a little while now. I haven't played for 8 years. 7, 8 years. And so things could be a little bit different right now. But throughout my career, I played 8 years in the minors and then a little bit in the major leagues. And this is the way it was every year that I played, okay? So before we get to the major league, let's go back to the minor leagues, just so you can get an idea. So when I was with the Padres, you got 2 bats, and that was it. You get 2 bats. The team provides it. Now, they're going to give you pretty crappy bats, okay? They're not great bats. They're called Pro Stock, okay? So Pro Stock was just kind of like not the best bats in the world, okay? Major leaguers are not using Pro Stock bats. So you were given 2 bats, and how it worked is you have your 2 bats, and when you break a bat, you would have to go past that broken bat in, and they'd give you another bat. Now, 1, the bats aren't great, but 2, there's hundreds or even thousands of bat models, okay? And it wasn't like they had every single model. So they had the common one, C271 and I13, C273. So don't think you're getting like a nice custom bat, and don't think you're getting your name on it either, okay? You're just getting a random kind of stock wood. And so I did that my first year in pro ball because I didn't know much about bats. I just kind of swung whatever they had. And then I figured out, okay, I realized with an I13, I hit no home runs. It was just too big of a bat. And then I went to a C271 and I hit a bunch of home runs. So I realized I wanted a C271. Now what happened, and those were all ash bats also. So there's different types of bats. Ash and maple are the 2 most common. Maple, I think, is the most common and most widely used. They had all ash bats. I realized I wanted a maple bat. A lot of guys were swinging maple. And so what I did is my second year, instead of taking the 2 free bats, I just had my agent buy me bats. All right. So my agent basically would get me I don't want to say it's a deal. The agency had a deal with Louisville Slugger where they got the bats for like $45 each. Now I paid for those. Okay. So I would have him order them. I say, hey, I need 3 dozen M9s, just maple C271 Louisville Slugger with a cup, 34-inch, 31-ounce, black, okay? I'd tell him that, he'd ship them to me, and I'd pay for them. Again, like $45, $50 a bat. And nowadays, they're like $150 a bat. It's ridiculous. I don't know if you're, playing professionally, but if you want one outside of that, it costs a lot of money. So I stopped doing the whole, give me 2 bats, I'll break one, I'll pass it in. I needed better bats. Right? I'm trying to get to the big leagues. I need a good bat. I can't have like a tree branch. And so I had to pay for them, okay? No big deal. So that's how it happened in the minor leagues, except for, now I moved to a couple of different teams. The first team I went to were the Yankees that actually paid for bats for the minor leaguers. So when I got to the Yankees, I was like, what the hell? They came up to me and they said, hey, what kind of bats do you want? I'm like, I don't know, what kind of bats do you have? And they said, whatever you want. I was like, oh boy, okay. And I think they got us like a dozen. It might have even been more, but that was the first time I saw a team actually say, yeah, we'll buy you bats and tell us what bats you want. So that's how the minor leagues worked when I was there. Now, when you're in the major leagues, okay, let's start off with big league spring training, okay? So if you're in big league spring training, but you're not even really in the major leagues, you're not on the 26-man roster. My first year in major league spring training, I wasn't even on the 40-man roster. But when I went the first day of spring training, they give you your uniform and they pass out your gear and all that stuff, and they say, okay, what kind of bats do you want? And I'm like, what kind of bats do I want? Well, I get bats. So I got 24, I believe it was, 2 dozen. I'm pretty sure it was 2 dozen. And you just tell them the same thing. You tell them what kind of bat you want. So I told them I want a C271 Louisville Slugger. I won't go over it again. And they get you 2 dozen for free. You don't have to pay for them. All right. Here's the thing. Once those 2 dozen are up, you don't get any more unless you're in the big leagues. But for me, I'd get those 2 dozen. I'd get sent down to the minor leagues and I have my 2 dozen bats and I would use them as long as I could. And then when I broke all of them, hopefully not in a week, right? But when I broke all of them, I'd have to call my agent. You'd have to kind of figure it out, right? As you start to get low, you have to be like, okay, I'm getting pretty low here. I got to get more bats. And so you'd call your agent, can I get these bats? Sure thing. And then you get the rest of your bats. I think the most I ever went through, like usually 3 dozen should get you through a season, unless you absolutely stink. But baseball is weird. Sometimes I'd go weeks with the same bat, like never breaking it. But then I had a game in Rancho Cucamonga one year, against Rancho Cucamonga. I broke my bat in that bat, right? I swing, I break it, I foul it off. I'm pissed. I go get a new bat. I swing, I break it, and I foul it off. And I'm like, oh my God, broke 2 bats and 1 at bat. Like, that's terrible. That's, for me at that point, it's $100 and something in 1 at bat, and then I finally hit the ball. So 2 broken bats. I used 3 bats in the same at bat. It's pretty depressing. And believe me, every time you break it, you're thinking like, oh, there's $55 gone. That's $110 gone. And even worse than that actually is if you have a bat that you love, like sometimes you just get a bat and you love it. It's like every bat feels a little bit different. Every bat's weighted just a little bit different. And when you hit enough, you can pick up a bat and be like, nah, I don't like, no, it's a little too heavy up here. No, it's a little too heavy down here. No, the handle's a little too thick. No, this handle's a little too thin, right? Like you can feel that. You find a bat that you love, when that bat breaks, you want to cry, right? Because you'll never probably ever find another bat that feels exactly like that one. They're like snowflakes. They're all different, okay? So that's how it works there. Now, here's the good news. When you get to the major leagues, you get as many bats as you want. So when I was in the major leagues, if you need bats, you just tell them, hey man, put an order for me in here. I need like 2 dozen, 3 dozen, whatever. You put it in, you get it. When you start getting low, you go in to the club and you say, hey man, can I get another 2 dozen of these bats, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, sure thing. And you get them, all right? So that's how it works. In the major leagues, you get free bats, as many as you want. I think as many as you want. I've never really asked for like 1 million bats before. But I'm assuming the more, if you want them, you can get them to some point, all right? Like, you know, if you're Mike Trout, yeah, I'm sure they'll give you 1,000 bats. But if I was in the big leagues, I'm sure there'd be a point to be like, hey, buddy, like we know you stink and you break a lot of bats, but I don't know, are you selling these like out in the black market? Like, what are you doing? So they probably wouldn't give me any more bats. But I'm pretty sure it's basically unlimited. The only other thing to know is when you finally actually get to have bats that you're either paying for through your agent or you're getting at the major leagues or in spring training, they put your name on it. All right, so now you actually have like your name. Sometimes it actually would have my name, and then they'd have me, do my signature, and then they would engrave my signature in there. So that made you feel pretty cool. Made you feel like a big leaguer. But at least getting your name on there is a big step. Like when you're hitting and you don't have your name on there, it's like, who's this peon? Get him out of here. Send him back to rookie ball. Right? You got to have your name on your bat if you want to feel legit. So that's really a big thing when you finally start getting your name on there. So I think that covers everything when it comes to bats, and I'm pretty sure it's the same way. I'll try to figure it out, but that's how it was when I played, literally for all 8 years. So that's all we have. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later. If you've enjoyed this video and want to learn more about building the elite swing, check out our new course. We have over 2 hours of content, almost 30 hitting drills. We break down the exact mechanics that you're going to want to implement into your swing. I've put the link in the description if you want to go check it out.